Every child that has lived in my house in the past 40 years has died. My daughter started feeling sick last week. We bought our house 3 years ago, and I thought it was perfect until our elderly neighbor told me the truth while I was pulling weeds in the front yard last month. She grabbed my arm and said, "I hope things work out for you, sweetheart. That house has had such terrible luck with little ones." When I pressed her for details, she told me about the original owner's son who died in his sleep in 1986, then a little girl in 1999 who passed the same way, and then another boy in 2012. 3 children across 3 different families spanning almost 40 years, and every single one of them died in their bedroom without any explanation. The doctors called it heart defects and seizure disorders and things that made no sense because these were healthy kids with no warning signs. My daughter Jenny is 6 years old and sleeps in the same bedroom where all 3 of those children died. And when my neighbor asked how old she was and I told her, the color drained completely from her face. I wanted to believe the neighbor was just a paranoid old woman telling ghost stories, but then Jenny started complaining about headaches every single night before bed. She said her room felt weird, and she kept asking to sleep in our bed because she was seeing little sparkles floating around in the dark. I took her to the pediatrician and then the emergency room after she passed out for 10 seconds in our backyard, and every single one of them told me she was completely fine. The doctor said I was anxious and projecting, that kids get headaches and sometimes faint, and it doesn't mean anything serious. My husband thought I was losing my mind when I told him about the neighbor's story. He said, "Babe, you're turning into one of those conspiracy theory people. There's no such thing as a cursed house." I called a home inspector who walked through every room and told me everything looked great, and I felt like I was screaming into a void where nobody could hear me. Last Tuesday night, Jenny woke up crying and told me she had a dream about a little boy who lived in her room, and he said that one night he went to sleep and never woke up, and she asked me if that was going to happen to her too. I held her so tight I thought I might break her. 3 children had died in their sleep in this house, and now my little girl was fading right in front of me, and I couldn't stop it because I didn't even know what I was fighting. The next evening, Jenny fell asleep on the couch at 5 p.m., and I couldn't wake her up for almost a full minute, and when her eyes finally opened, she looked at me like she didn't recognize my face. I put her to bed that night, knowing in my gut that she might not wake up, and something inside me finally broke. I grabbed a flashlight and a hammer and started tearing the house apart like a woman possessed, ripping open vent covers and crawling through the attic and pulling apart closets looking for anything that could explain why children kept dying in this house. My husband kept yelling that I needed help, but I didn't care because I knew I was right, and I was running out of time. I made it down to the basement at 2 in the morning and started pulling at the drywall near the old furnace. The first panel came off and there was nothing. The second panel came off and there was nothing. I was sobbing at this point, begging God to please just show me what was killing my baby. I swung the hammer at a rotted section of wall near a vent pipe, and the drywall crumbled, and behind it was an ancient gas heater from the 1970s that previous owners had supposedly removed, but actually just covered up. The connection pipe was cracked and corroded and running directly up toward Jenny's bedroom. I grabbed my daughter out of her bed and she didn't even wake up, which terrified me because Jenny had always been a light sleeper. I carried her outside and screamed at my husband to call 911, and when the fire department arrived with their carbon monoxide detectors, the readings in her bedroom were so high that the captain's face went white. He looked at me and said, "Ma'am, if you had waited another week, your daughter would have gone to sleep and never woken up, just like all the others." Jenny spent 2 nights in the hospital, but the doctor said I caught it just in time with no permanent damage. The home inspector who told me everything looked fine actually showed up at our door asking for forgiveness, but I just looked at him and said, "Tell that to the 3 families who buried their children because you couldn't do your job."